And he says hello. Eric, welcome. How are you today, buddy? What's going on?
Hey, Doggy. Good to talk to you again, buddy.
Hello, Eric. What do you have for me? Let me hear.
Hey, glad to see you watch the Century and Dustin pounding it to about 6 inches on Sunday.
What a shot that was, folks. Anybody miss it? He drove. I forget what hole it was. He was a par. He was a par 4. He drove downhill. He probably hit a driver. He drove the green, and the ball was about an inch from going into the hole. Inch.
And he chipped in from 65 yards out the day before.
Oh, I didn't know that. Did he really?
In back-to-back days. Unbelievable. So, a couple points on the football this weekend, and then I want to go with the Steelers Jags. But, listen, it's not a big surprise to me that the Falcons won the game against the Rams. I mean, their defense is so fast with Beasley and Poe and McKinley. I mean, they've got a great defense, and they've got 2 pounding running backs. I mean, look, the Rams are, number 1 scoring offense in the league, but, I mean, they didn't play a great schedule. But that Falcons defense is really good, and they fly to the ball, and I think that was a huge key in that game. As far as the Vikings and Saints this week, look, to me, Carolina sold out to stop the run against them this week, but Minnesota can defend the run and the pass.
Yeah, they don't have to do that. That's a good point.
Right. They can play both sides, run and pass.
We had that. Somebody else brought that up today, and that's a very fair point. They're balanced defensively. The Saints are not as the Panthers are not as balanced, so the Vikings can play it out of the way. I think that's a very hard game for the Saints. I don't trust them. I don't trust them away from home. I think that you'd be worried about Keenum. Don't get me wrong; he'd be the one guy. You're betting on him, so that would concern you. But I think you got a lot. You have to like the Vikings to win the game. No question about it.
I totally agree. Hey, I'm probably heading down to Heinz Field this weekend too, Chris, for the game. So, look, one of the things we always talk about with Tomlin is I just don't want him to come out flat. But the only thing is I think this is a revenge game for them, and I think these Steeler players really want to win this game. And looking at that Jacksonville defense, yes, they're great. They're great on the corners and sides, but I think they're going to try to attack that middle of the field, which kind of Buffalo did. It's just that Tyrod couldn't make the throws. And look, they're not going against Tyrod this week. They're going against Ben, who's got, Antonio Brown, Bryant James, Jesse James, Eli Rogers, Juju. That was a different team than back in week 5. I think their defense has gotten figured out. I think they're going to sell out to stop Fournette, and they're going to say, look,
I think
for 87 yards, you're not going to come in Heinz Field and do that. And I think if the Steelers score 24 points, they win the game.
Listen, I would be very surprised, Eric, if Pittsburgh doesn't win this game. Now, I think Jacksonville does know. I think the Jags do know that they're going to have to do a better job. I think they're going to be a little more aggressive offensively. They're going to have to score in this game. Marone seemed to know it yesterday. He knew that after the game, he said it. He knew that Buffalo was not a huge threat defensively, and 1 touchdown would win the game. I think he probably realizes that he can't get away with it this week. TP King is in Texas, and he says hello. He's on Mad Dog Unleashed. TP, good afternoon. How are you today?
Good afternoon, Chris. Of course, you jinxed me the last time I talked to you.
Yeah, that's, how about you now screwing me over, telling me that there's no way you take the team and you think is going to win, and don't worry about the spread. So that's what I do with Jacksonville, thinking of you, and that's what I do, of course, with the late game and Carol and the Saints, and I get burned both ways. Now, let me hear your thoughts then. Go ahead.
All right, calm down, number one. Is anything perfect in this world? First of all, things were going along swimmingly. Do you know that if I know if is a big word, but if TCU hadn't missed an extra point, and if Kentucky had made a 2-point conversion at the end of the Northeastern game, the pick-to-winner theory is 38-0-1 in bowl games.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm talking about 13 teams that were 8, 9, 10, 11-point underdogs that won straight up. And then on Saturday, an 8.5-point team wins straight up. I said, Chris is going to kiss me on the lips. And then the second game, a 6.5-point team wins straight up. And then, as the gambling gods always do, the roof falls in. It happens. But
well, I'll tell you the other thing that would hurt you from a gambling god perspective.
What's that?
If you lost both games on Saturday and raise your hand if you did, and mine is raised.
I did too.
You say to yourself, there's no way that two home teams aren't going to win today with the spread.
Absolutely.
So those two home teams won, they didn't cover. So you figure that the two home teams lost outright. You figure the two home teams would go the other way on Saturday, and that did not work itself out. Amazing.
Listen, you're absolutely right. I mean, if the dealer has an ace and you hit on 16, you're going to break, but it's still the right play. I mean, I've been doing this for 50 years, and I'm not going to change. I'm not smart enough to know what one game is going to fall in out of 15 or 2. So I'm going to ask you quickly, what dog do you think has the best chance of winning of these 4 upcoming games?
Wow. Well, definitely not in the AFC.
Okay.
I would say the Eagles, because they're somehow an underdog.
Agree with you 100%. I've never seen a game like this. There isn't one person that gives the Eagles a chance. Like, they shouldn't even show up. They're playing at home, and it'll be cold there, and they legitimately, and when everyone is on one side, and like they're just putting Atlanta in the next game, that usually comes back to bite you.
No doubt about it. And I'll tell you something right now. You can count on it. Peterson's gonna hammer that home all week, guys. We're underdogs at home, and we won 14 games. Let's go. That's going to be a big factor. Steve in Charlotte. Steve, good afternoon. How are you today? Are you there, Steve? Take it away. What's happening?
I am there, Chris. Great show. I was just wondering. I know Cam had a great game yesterday, but I was wondering why they would trade Calvin Benjamin halfway through the year for a 4th-round draft pick with Buffalo. Not that Benjamin's like one of the top receivers, but, except for Olsen and McCaffrey, you're giving Cam 3 wide receivers that basically have no experience. And if you saw the last week, their wide receivers were always the lowest in the league as far as catches for the week.
We discussed this. That maybe been one of the reasons why Gutterman got let go, who's now the Giant general manager. The Benjamin thing was a little strange. Now, I don't know if that would have made a difference yesterday. The kid missed a field goal. The kid he did drop the pass, though. That one kid did drop the pass. Cano missed the field goal following that. I don't know how to read that exactly. Strange. Carolina played well in the game, though. I mean, it was a tough loss. They played well. Lots to do. Come on back. Don't go away. Mad Dog Unleashed.